So what more is there to be said about the recent early Ontario provincial election, an election nobody wanted, an election that was totally unneeded? After all, the status quo was maintained. The Doug Ford PCs cruised to yet another supermajority, while the NDP remains the official opposition. Gee, that was sure a good use of 150 million or so, wouldn't you say? But in any election, I always look for interesting storylines when it comes to specific ridings. In that regard, I was elated that the independent MPP for Haldimand Norfolk, that would be Bobby Ann Brady, went up against Dougie's Big Blue Machine, smear campaign and all, and yet Brady was reelected in a landslide. You know, Brady's campaign slogan was honesty and integrity always matter. And folks, trust me, Brady comes as advertised. Good for you, Bobby Ann, in pulling off a Herculean feat yet again. But as much as I was elated to see Brady win, I was equally delighted to see the NDP's Jill Andrew go down to defeat. Andrew lost her seat of Toronto St. Paul's, a seat she really had no business winning in the first place. Why? Well, it's simply this. Jill Andrew is batshite crazy. Even so, I do have a place in my heart for Jill because her woke lunacy was responsible for my most viewed Rebel News video to date. The video aired back in 2016 before Jill Andrew got into politics, and my mini monologue garnered almost 2 million views on YouTube alone. It was all about Jill Andrew's disdain for ballerinas? Oh, I kid you not, folks. So let's take a little detour down memory lane with an encore performance of Jill in all her imagined glory. And ask yourself this, folks. Is this the sort of person you'd want representing you in Queen's Park?
Jill Andrew, the anti-body shaming crusader, is at it again. This time, Jill's upset with an ad campaign running in Toronto's public transit system. The offending ads are for the National Ballet of Canada, and it showcases dancers doing their shtick in and around transit vehicles. So, what's not to love? Well, according to our plus-size social justice warrior, this ad campaign promotes unhealthy body image stereotypes.
I have come to see now just how fat and black embodiment, how excesses of fatness and blackness make some people uncomfortable, especially those who were born and raised on the milk and honey, the Western comforts of Eurocentric and thin-centric body and beauty ideals. When I get out of the shower, buck naked, I just stand there and say in my best Broadway voice, I'm a big, bright, shining star, and I'm gonna shine forever.
Here's what she said in a Toronto Star article, quote, the body types of most ballet dancers do not adequately represent those of most Canadians, and I dare say, most TTC users. So what? The Toronto Transit Commission is now supposed to ban such ads? Really?
You know, folks, to date, that video on YouTube alone has garnered almost 8,000 comments. I have not come across a single solitary comment in support of Jill Andrews' warped viewpoint. That sort of one-sidedness is virtually unheard of. Yet here's the thing, Jill Andrew is obviously a kook who is uber woke and easily triggered. That much is evident from her own words. So what does that say about the people running the NDP? They were fully aware of Jill's nuttiness, yet the party deemed her to be the right stuff. Or then again, given what today's NDP has devolved into, maybe the NDP itself now exists as one giant jar of assorted nuts. Therefore, Jill was simply preaching to the choir.
Well, I'd like to say, first of all, there's no such thing as parental rights in Canada.
Yeah, go on. F off, Putin troll.
Putin troll.
Nothing to do with Putin. Yes, you do. If you don't stand with Ukraine, then you're a fascist.
Who said it?
Somebody behind me said that.
Was it me? Was it you? No. You sure? If it was me, I'd admit it, buddy. Was it you or not?
But there's another baffling thing about Jill's victories in 2018 and 2022. For the most part, Toronto St. Paul's is a very affluent riding. While it does tend to lean Liberal, Toronto St. Paul's is certainly not typical NDP territory by any stretch. My hunch, in the previous election campaigns, the vote was split by the Liberals and the Conservatives, and Jill simply cruised up the middle, kind of like winning by default, if you will. Hey, it happens. But not this time. Stephanie Smythe of the Liberals took Toronto St. Paul's. I don't think I've ever been so happy to see a Liberal win. Hey, I used to have dealings with Stephanie Smythe when she was with the news department of Toronto radio station AM 640. Even though she's a Liberal, Stephanie's a nice lady. And unlike Jill, I can vouch Stephanie is not crazy. Even so, I must address the biggest demographic in last month's provincial election, namely Team No-Show. Voter turnout was only 45%. In other words, slightly more than 5 million out of just more than 11 million eligible voters chose to cast a ballot. That is both abysmal and shameful. And you know, I really think the likes of a Jill Andrew count on low voter turnouts, even though it didn't quite work out for the anti-fat body-shaming crusader this time around. Even so, such an unqualified candidate as Jill Andrew, scoring previous electoral victories, does make for a cautionary tale, which is to say, those who do not care about politics are destined to be governed by those who do.
Oh, hi, it's Ezra Levant here in Toronto with an important message because we need your help. Independent journalism in Canada is under attack. Government censors, big tech deplatformers, and the dying legacy media are all working together to maintain exclusive control on the information you receive. They don't want you to hear other voices like ours, and they really don't want you to be informed and to think for yourself. That's why the work we do here at Rebel News is so important. Our on-the-ground reporting, independent news shows, and special content you won't find anywhere else. It's all designed to give you trustworthy information and alternative viewpoints so you can decide for yourself. We don't get government money, and we are not owned by some big global conglomerate. We're funded by people just like you, so please support independent journalism and help us continue our work by subscribing and becoming a Rebel News Plus member today, right here on the page. Go to rebelnewsplus.com.